Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 3 of the 2022 Big Blue Button World Conference. Thank you so much for attending this session. We're so excited to have you here. This session is presented by Elias Hackradt. Elias is a developer, administrator, and technological innovator that develops business ideas into prototypes and turns things into brands. Some of the projects he's worked on include Ansible, which he'll be talking about today in his talk, Why Use Ansible? And he'll give an interview of the European BigBlueButton Association and their ongoing maintenance of the Ansible Role. So please put your comments and questions in the chat throughout this presentation, and we'll talk about them at the end. Welcome, Elias.
Hi, welcome. I hope everyone can hear me well, and I hope you excuse my little German accent. I hope it's well. So, who am I? I'm Elias. Where you can see I can change my hairstyle, or updated it, whatever you want to call it. What do? I develop Ansible roles. I have to manage a lot of servers, and I don't know. The moment you start managing like more than 300 servers, if you set them up by hand, you lose track. That's why you should use Ansible. A short introduction to eBBBa. I won't go into depth too much about eBBBa because I'm just a tech guy behind it. If you want to know more about eBBBa, you can ask Lukas Mocek, our chairperson of board, the next day, tomorrow. So, but a little history about eBBBa, how we started. The COVID pandemic started, and suddenly Germany, who's like in some parts third world when it's about like internet and like remote working and everything, suddenly panicked and said, we need video conferencing, and we have to have it GDPR conform. So we looked at BigBlueButton, and suddenly there were like a lot of administrators in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Luxembourg, and they all wanted to use BigBlueButton, but they didn't know how to set it up or how to configure it, or some knew how to configure it. And so they all got together in a big matrix room and started chatting and exchanging ideas and best practices. And then one smart guy came to the idea, let's do something with Ansible, but then he had no more time, so I took over. eBBBa also got formed because you need some sort of body to connect the feet, the hands, and the head, so you can walk together. If you ever want to know more about eBBBa, you can just visit our website. And also, if you need help with setting up eBBBa servers or using the Ansible roles, always just write an email, write an issue on GitHub, or just connect to us within Metrics, where we also are. So, what is Ansible? Well, if you ever set up BigBlueButton the normal way, you know you use the BBB install sh script, which works fine. It does what it does. But the moment you manage like 50 servers or more, and you have to connect to each server and upload your configurations, overrides, configure turn servers, maybe some free switch optimizations, and then you maybe also want to use like zip and telephones. It can get quite tedious. What does Ansible do? It automates and simplifies. Like if you want to configure a custom default presentation, it's just one line in our role, and then you can apply it on all servers. Yeah, it works via SSH. It pushes actually like little Python scripts that do your stuff and then delete them. It's agentless. I don't know if you ever work with monitoring. You often have like little agents running on the servers which have to do stuff, but Ansible just pushes stuff via SSH. And the last point can be a little bit misleading. Easy to read and easy to read it, you might see in the demo. But as soon if you go into roles with a lot of variables and jumping around and including stuff, it can get complex. But normally the playbooks that describe what should happen on the machine, like the end state, should be fairly simple. I would like to just jump right in demo time, but before that I would like to ask some questions to the room. I don't know how many people we are. It's 29. I assume most people here are known to the idea of setting up servers, like BBB servers especially. I would like to know how much time does it take you to set up one BBB server? And then if you scale it up to 5, how much time does it take? I will start the poll. Let's say Let's do user response. How much time do you need to set up a BBB server? Just answer with some, I'd say it's anonymous. Here's the poll. Maybe just enter minutes, hours, days, who knows? Okay. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 1, 23. I assume first time, okay. First time 50 minutes to 1 week, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes. Okay, I will assume this is for one server. I think that's pretty good. There's 13 responses missing. We can wait for them or not. 20. Okay. I think that's enough. So most responses are like around 15 to 30 minutes for one server. So what if I told you, if you just put all your configuration in little .yaml files, you can just apply it to 100 servers. So you don't have to worry. Sounds good, right? So I will start my entire screen share, or should I just share my terminal? Let's just share my terminal. So you should see my terminal now. Yeah, it's working. Very good. And what you see right here is the whole command that is needed to set up 5 BBB servers, a load balancer, and a co-turn server, and also register them all with the green light. I just press this, type my password to decrypt some encrypted variables, and there it goes. Now we could wait and think about what we could do in all this time. Maybe chat with colleagues, get a coffee, eat something, maybe look at the issues, maybe there's problems. Who knows? But I know it's already set up, so I can just give you a URL and you can just visit the finished result and play with it. There's 5 servers, a load balancer, configured code turn, should work for everyone. I mean, right now I think you have to sign up, but let's just create one room here. Let's create another one, R1, allow users to start as moderators. Just create, oh, that's an exclamation mark. And let's just create another one, R3, moderators. And just one more. So, in the background you can just see the screen share where it's running through and configuring all the stuff you need for BigBlueButton. Firewall, App Armor. I think App Armor is not even included in the normal BigBlueButton setup. That's something we added, but I'm not sure. Maybe Fred can share some light on that later, not right now. But there's a lot of stuff that just flew into the Ansible role for BigBlueButton from other administrators who just wanted more security. Yeah. And you can see in the background, it's configuring everything, checking everything. Did the configuration change? Do I need to update something? And yes, you can also update the BigBlueButton servers like that. But I mean, if you want to do it this way, you can do it. It works. But mostly for us, BigBlueButton servers are just one-time use. Like if you need them, you create one. It's 254. Okay. Was there a question? Yeah, it's new version. Yeah. Yes, you can also select version. If you want to, you could also roll back to 250, 24. But like, why use 24 now? If you can use 25 with the newest stuff. You always want to be up to date. Also, 2.4 is still Ubuntu 18, I guess, and the newer one finally works on Ubuntu 20. I don't know if anyone clicked on the rooms and just did something. I've set up a maximum time of 10 minutes for each rooms. Feel free to use them. The rooms are not started. Oh, so then maybe let me just start all the rooms. Sorry for that. Did you actually manage to crash my Greenlight? That would be interesting. No. Okay, let's start. R2 is started, BBBWorld is started, our exclamation mark is started. There's people inside. Yeah, of course. To the playbook, the role. Of course. Here is a link to. Oops, I just added one more backslash there. Sorry for that, but should work nonetheless. There's the link to the role for Ansible. We also have roles for CodeTurn, Scalelight, Greenlight, but especially the Scalelight and Greenlight need some love. So if you ever want to commit, let's do it. In the background, we're configuring different unmute sounds. Maybe we can already start and go to the Q&A section. In the background, you can still see the screen share, I think. Do we? Back for me? Oh, now it's back. I mean, that's what I do. I do Ansible. I can deploy 100 servers, 5 servers, 10 servers, all with configurations.
That's very cool stuff. And thank you for setting it up so that everyone can kind of play around with it. That's really awesome. Yeah, so like Elias said, we can definitely take some questions now. We have plenty of time for questions, for comments. You all can go ahead and leave them in the chat. Continue to play around with this and see if you come up with more questions. Yeah, this is awesome. So while we're waiting for some questions to come in, Elias, you might have already mentioned this and I was just too distracted by looking at your screen, but how long did this kind of take you to work on and create?
Okay, you mean the role for Ansible?
Yes, yeah.
Actually, we could look at this right away. We can look at the commit history where I did the big upgrade from 2.3 to 2.4. I looked at this a week ago. It was 1.5 months of,
wow, okay.
of continuous work with other administrators to just consolidate all the best practices and all the nicks and nags and how to do this, how to do that. Maybe there's something better we can do.
Yeah.
So 1 month.
Fantastic. Wow, that's awesome. That's really impressive, at least to me. Okay, awesome. Okay, so Leon asks, what do you need to configure in the Ansible script, such as passwords, IP, etc.?
Yes, exactly. So in the GitHub repository, there's a very big README with a lot of variables. If you ever set up a BigBlueButton server, you know there's a lot of configuration and customization that you can do. That's the nice part about BigBlueButton. You're in control. And all these variables you can use and define and update. And we added the yellow warning sign for variables that need to be set up. Like, for example, there's BBB Let's Encrypt email. If you want to use Let's Encrypt, they need an email. Who to tell when the the certificate is getting outdated. But that should not happen. Oh, I see big red on my own screen. What is it? That's an error that's getting ignored. Why? It's Scalelight. They create DB, and it's saying I failed because I already created the database and I don't create it again. So it's no error. It just needs to be implemented better in Ansible. So now we're done. And we have a big recap of all our servers. And we see on the servers 4 changes have happened. That should be just normal restarts and everything. The same with the other servers. So there was another question. One moment. Let me just also, in the variables, oftentimes you configure passwords. If you want to use passwords in Ansible, there's this thing called Ansible Vault, where you can encrypt variables or whole files. So I could just show you all my... Let's switch the screen share. One moment. Let's... Where are you? This one. Over here. Over here. Oops. It's not encrypted. Give me a moment. I have to do one little command. And now it's hidden again. Sorry for that. So, but no worries. It's all just temporary. After that, the servers will be thrown away and the passwords are all generated. What you can see right here is a big encrypted file with all secrets stored. And in the configuration, I can just say BBB secret is the encrypted variable, which will be decrypted on runtime. And was there another question? Are you planning to create further roles like the awesome BBB node Prometheus exporter? That's included. You can. It's enabled by default. No. Yes. Wait a second. Monitoring. There is this one cool little variable. It's called monitoring all-in-one. And the definition for that is deploy all-in-one monitoring stack, which includes the BBB exporter, Grafana, and Prometheus. And we also have the option to not deploy Grafana and Prometheus on each node, because normally you want like one Prometheus, one Grafana, and then connect all your BBB servers to that one instance. And yes, there's also a HTTP option, so no one else can grab your data from Prometheus. That's already included, Mark. Do you keep defaults to the BBB upstream defaults, or are there house standards? And no, we stick to the BBB defaults. On certain occasions, we go away from them if we realized with a lot of users maybe there's something else. But if we take a different path, it should be only configuration and default variables in the default playbook. But you can just override them with whatever you want. Is the role available on the Ansible Galaxy? Of course. Let me just Ansible Galaxy search BigBlueButton, and there it is from eBBBa. Here you go. I actually prepared some more customization, so we could run another deployment or just reconfiguration, like changing the default presentation, enabling mute on start, disabling recordings, allow moderators to eject cameras, turn off your camera, no one wants to see you sitting on the toilet again. Or just disabling Etherpad cursor trace. That's the little thing on the shared notes. When you type and you see the name, we had a lot of complaints in Germany from our GDPR experts, I don't want to see the names, that's not good. Where is the Ansible script running? A client PC connected to the internet, and then it will set up the servers remote. There's different ways you can use Ansible. You can use it on your own client and deploy to the servers. You can set up a master node and then deploy to all other servers. There's also bigger programs like Ansible Tower and Ansible AWX, which do a little bit more than just using Ansible plain in the shell. So there's more than one version you can use Ansible with. But normally it's a client to remote via SSH. More questions? I would love more questions.
Oh, it looks like some people are typing in the chat. While we wait for folks to type, how did you get involved with the European BigBlueButton Association?
Let's put it very simple. One of the founders is my boss at my workplace. That's the most simplest solutions. Also, if you start working with BigBlueButton in Europe, or like especially in Germany, and you talk to other administrators, you get just dragged into it.
I feel like that's how it works with a lot of things.
Yeah, but I mean, normally if you sit alone and do Ansible by yourself, and then suddenly you have the opportunity to talk with 20, 50, 100 administrators from like universities or other companies and exchange like best practices, then you can learn a lot, and it's very good.
Definitely.
So we have to try a bit ourselves, and then we have questions. I'm sure. Do you know how many administrators are using the Ansible script? Let's take, for example, in the Ansible Galaxy, we have 1,248 downloads of the role. These are at least 1,248 deployments from BigBlueButton. Let's assume everyone runs 3 servers multiplied by 3. I know that many I think at least 50 to 60 universities in Germany use the script, and this is the script, the Ansible role, and we get a lot of feedback through them. So I think there are over 1.5 million students in Germany using BigBlueButton. With the new media soup, you can have 500 users and around 30 webcams. So a lot of service should be deployed with this role. I can pinpoint the number, and I also don't want to implement some sort of counter. Nah. Are you allowed to run the learning dashboard at universities? Depends. It really depends. Yes and no. If I ask my GDPR person at work, he says no, disable it. But if the customer wishes to use it and they explain to each person, or like with the terms of service, then they can use it. But normally I disable it because I don't need it. I don't run like schools. I have other customers. Is there a Matrix BBB Ansible question tips channel? We have a channel where you could just join and start chatting. Give me a moment. You just have to force those admins over there to speak English. Like, there's a lot of Germans, so force them to speak English. It works. Let me just be like that. Invite to room. Can I create a URL? Share. Yes, it's also public, so whoever wants to join can actually just join. So there's no problem if sharing the URL right here. That was the question.
Looks like we have a few more questions that people are typing in the chat. Thank you, everyone, for all of your fantastic questions. This is really awesome.
We only see your Visual Studio Code in case you meant to show more. No, I didn't want to show more. I just put the URLs in the chat so you can click them and use whatever you want.
This is the awesome thing. Oh, go ahead.
Q&A. We're here. we're already here.
We are. This is the awesome thing about this conference. It's just that we get to see all of the cool things that everyone is working on, and we just get to interact with them and ask so many questions. And I just think that that's so beautiful about the BigBlueButton community. So feel free to put more questions and comments in the chat for Elias. We'll be here for a few more minutes. But while we have a little pause, I just wanted to let you guys know that the next session will be starting pretty soon. It's with Christian Zange, and he will be talking about Drupal integration with BigBlueButton. So I'm going to put the link in the chat to, Brendan, who's one of our other moderators, just put the link in the chat to join Christian at the next session, which will be starting in about 5 minutes. But Elias and I will still be here in case anyone has any other questions or comments or anything like that.
Yep. And I'm seeing a lot of people joining the Matrix room right now. That's nice.
What are some of kind of the challenges that you've run into with, deploying all of these servers at one time and trying to, configure all of this code to make it work?
Own hiccups. Before I started this session today, I deployed all the servers, and there was a problem because in the first iteration, when I deployed all 5 servers, or like all servers that I use today, I did not set up the BBB secret, which is used internally to communicate with the API. And afterwards, I tried to set it, and the role tries to check if there's running meetings. And if there are running meetings, it doesn't deploy to the server because you don't want to kick those people. The problem is, if you have a set secret and you try to update it, it tries to use the new secret to ask the API. The API says, sorry, I don't talk to you, that's the wrong secret. But the Ansible, more than stupid thing, just says, wrong response, wrong response, there's running meetings. So it's like those little nicks and nacks that you have to take care of. What else? Actually, it's quite nice if you can group your BBB servers through group variables like customers or organizations, and then you put all the configuration in one big file, and you can just write it in, and there's no misconceptions like which configurations belongs to what. Florian, I'm usually wary of using other people's Ansible roles. Half the thing on Galaxy got serious issues, and still using Ansible for my BBB servers, just not this role. You're happy to scan the role, and if you find anything, create an issue.
Collaboration makes coding better.
Yes, it does.
For sure. Okay, well, it looks like all the questions and comments have wrapped up. So thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. And thank you so much, Elias, for sharing all of this with us today and letting us kind of play around with it. This was fantastic. So I'm going to stop this recording for this room. And everyone, the link is in the chat for the next session. Thank you, everyone.